Today on Drawbli,
Ben is sketching foxes.
click that subscribe button if you're new around here.
And comment below with ideas of what we can do to improve as artists.
And if you just so happen to be sketching or doodling some foxes, share them online with the hashtag Drawbli.
We would like to see those foxes.
I would love to see those foxes, especially after I just sketched 5 foxes.
Yes, that is a lot of foxes, but as somebody who also enjoys a deep dive animal study of sketching lots of the same animal, I totally get it. So this was probably a lot of fun, right?
It was. I didn't have anything in particular that I was working on, which is why I kind of call these sketches or doodles. In my mind, that's kind of what a sketch or a doodle is. It's just experimenting and trying to not necessarily work on any one particular skill or even work on skills at all. It's just kind of drawing for the sake of drawing.
Yeah, because not every time that you sit down to draw will be a time that you have the full energy and capacity to push into practicing something you learned or pushing a piece until it's beautiful and refined and finished to the best of your ability. I think it's so important to take the time to do things like this where you're just sketching for the sake of sketching.
Sketching for the sake of sketching. That's what this is. Oh yeah, there's
Level of colors.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was just kind of experimenting. I was with this one in particular, as you can see, lots of small lines. So I was like, what happens if I just used essentially a pencil here for the whole thing and just kind of scribbled all over it? What would that look like? That's what that would look like. This one was the same idea, but I was like, what if my paintbrush, or my pencil in this case, the same basic concept, was just a little thicker, a little fatter. And that's kind of how I started this one. And I really liked this photograph of this fox. So
Beautiful photograph.
So I was like, oh man, I gotta try using that as a reference to paint something.
Yeah, no, that looks awesome as a photograph, and it's coming together nicely as a sketch.
The one on the left looks good. Yeah.
Well, the one on the right isn't finished yet.
Yeah, but it doesn't really go. It doesn't really go anywhere. But that's okay. I like I said, the whole point of this was just to sketch for the sake of sketching. A few times at least on Drawbli, I've seen comments somewhere along the line of, hey, I hope you guys are also sketching or painting and drawing outside of Drawbli. And it's like, yeah, we are, of course. Not everything makes it into Drawbli, but this is a lot of the stuff that I would say this kind of sketching for ourselves is probably more so what exists outside of what we don't show on Drawbli. So here's maybe a little peek behind the curtain of some of those things that don't really fit the bill of being refined enough to where we're just we're just kind of drawing for drawing's sake.
Yeah, I think it's also a really great way to get back in the swing of things if you haven't been able to draw a lot over the course of a few days, maybe just a tiny bit. We like to say one of our goals is to just at least draw for a minute each day. And if you truly are only achieving that 1 minute, then taking the time to just do these sketches is a really great way to get back in the flow and back in the spirit of things.
Yeah, actually somebody recently commented something that I thought we could talk about, which was they were thinking about getting into digital painting, digital artwork in general, and asking if we had any advice for that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, do you have any advice for how you can get into digital painting, digital art?
Just be gentle on yourself, get started, and don't be in any rush. You'll get there. It takes some time.
And you will paint on your reference layer, as you just saw I did there
all the time.
For just a moment.
Yeah, one thing I like to do one thing I did when I started out on the iPad was a couple of times.
So that's a good recommendation, iPad, first of all.
Oh, well, for digital art? Yeah, definitely. An iPad. You can take it places, to coffee shops. If you're not sure where to get started in terms of equipment, and you're trying to decide, an iPad is great for mobility's sake.
iPad, Apple Pencil, and Procreate. That's all you need. But there are cheaper options if you already have a computer, involving Krita or a bunch of other free tools.
Yeah.
But you were going to say one thing that you started out doing with the iPad.
was doing some of those YouTube tutorials
yeah.
are literally kind of just like step by step in a sort of paint by numbers sense where you just copy their exact step.
But you learn so much from doing those. In the early stages, for sure.
In the early stages, for sure.
Tool-wise, I think is probably the biggest way, I would say.
It gets you familiar with the tool set at your disposal.
A little bit of workflow.
And you create something satisfying, which is a boost to the neural connections you're trying to build in terms of satisfaction.
Absolutely, yeah. But at the same time, I would say it's very important that you have to learn to like the process, which is not something that happens overnight.
Yeah, it helps definitely if you already have a little bit of a background in drawing or doodling, which helped me a lot just to know that eventually I'd be able to translate that onto the digital platform. Oh, cute fox. Although
Cute fox.
although I wasn't able to at first. I really struggled at first, but it was still fun. It was still a lot of fun. Look at this photo of Fox. He's so cute.
I really like this photo too. For this
hour.
one, I think I used so for these last two, I've done 3 up to this point, 5 total. For this last one, I do the same thing. I don't know why, but I was experimenting a lot with just like, if I only had a pencil or colored pencils, what would that kind of translate to here? And as you'll see with my last fox, I think I actually got better at this technique over time, which is kind of what I would expect, but normally you don't see results that quickly. In this case, I did. It's kind of like a weird, messy way to work. It's sketching, it's doodling, but I enjoyed it.
Would you ever be interested in an art field trip? And by that I mean for an afternoon or so, trying out a different medium? Colored pencils, acrylic paint, not in I'm going to develop this whole new hobby and stuff, but just hey, let's do a quick lesson maybe with my sister who knows a lot about these different mediums more than I do, and see how that feels.
To be honest, I've said this a lot, I don't have like a ton of interest in using other mediums. I think it would be fun to do it as like a one-off kind of...
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I think that could be fun, but the whole time I'd be like, man, I could just be doing the same thing digitally.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions. No.
Yeah, like, literally, I can count on one hand how many times I have sculpted traditionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, that you're a digital boy. You're an electronic boy.
I'm a Game Boy. That's right.
There's a fashion called, or an aesthetic called e-girl. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of the e-girl aesthetic.
The standard is like black hair with the 2 front pieces dyed bright green or something.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, well, that's how I see it. But I always see things in terms of what do you wear and how do you look with the aesthetic.
Okay.
So are you going to dye your hair black and 2 little front pieces green and be an e-boy?
I could do that. I could be an e-boy. Is green really the color for me, though?
Green is the color of E.
Oh, the E color.
Yes,
I was
electronic.
unaware.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen The Matrix? Obviously, it's green.
Oh, it all makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're gonna be an electronic boy, I'm just saying you gotta start fitting the picture.
Oh man. Well, I started growing a mustache. Does that count?
It does count in a 1930s steam engine electronic boy kind of way. That was the early version of e-boy, Steam Boy.
Steam Boy. It's okay. The mustache won't last very long.
I like the mustache.
I'm thinking at most it'll go another 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay. Well, we can discuss it again at that time. In the meantime, I love doing a voice for you of like a 1930s businessman on his way to make business transactions, Martha.
I'm going to go do business.
No, that's why I have to do the voice for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Please continue to do continue to speak for me.
The stocks are through the roof.
Martha?
I think a 1930s man would be talking to Martha all the time.
Oh, of course,
He's very affectionate towards Martha, but he's mostly like just talking. The newspapers have said it all today, Martha.
And every sentence ends with Martha. Is that correct?
Well, it doesn't have to be that way, but in this case, since I'm using the voice to talk back to myself, I have dubbed myself Martha.
What if it was like a transatlantic accent, like a horse race kind of... And Martha's coming around the 6th, kind of.
You could do that too. Yeah, you could. And that's where I would say you can handle the voice.
Okay. Only if I do that voice.
Yes. Can you maintain
Any
it?
other time, you're not allowed to speak.
In this house, if you have a mustache, you have to use a voice.
Oh no! Well, that's gonna make it go away very quick then.
No! Fine, use whatever voice you want.
Well, there's my final
he's
fox.
cute.
Similar technique, similar process.
Looks like he's walking across a thin layer of reflective water. I love that.
Yeah, it's the reference was a road that was wet
Oh,
from rain.
exactly. That's
So yeah, pretty
awesome.
much same basic idea.
I like this. This was really like soothing to watch, just like relaxing, a nice sketch process.
And if you want to see more relaxing art, you should click that subscribe button.
And comment below with ideas of what we can do to improve as artists.
And if you just so happen to make some relaxing art, share it online with the hashtag Drawbli.
And this is the part where we say goodbye.
Goomba.
That little fox is so cute. My little sister had a stuffed animal named Foxley that she was devoted to.
Your other sister told me about this. One of your many sisters
One of
told
my
me
many,
about this.
many sisters.
And then I told you about it. Did I remind you of it? Did I brain blast you with that?
Your foxes reminded me of the time that you told me that my sister told you that my younger sister liked foxes and had a stuffed animal named Foxley, yes.
Wow.